what is happening with Tom Cruise, man? Like, Top Gun Maverick, I didn't think that would be very good. Not that I didn't think he would be able to make that movie well, but just in that pitch of like, it's a Top Gun movie. 20 years later, one of the main stars can barely be in it. It's mostly just Tom Cruise and a bunch of younger actors, and it's that. And instead, that movie was great and everyone loved it and made a lot of money. I think this is about as good as that. I do think this movie is a part 1 of 2. I don't know why this year is that, but we had another part 1 of 2 this year after Spider-Verse and after Fast X. I do think this one feels the most part 1 of 2 in that the beginning of the movie, like the very first scene, sets up a very clear, like, this is what these 2 movies are going to be about. This is the problem. This is why it's going to be such a big deal, why it takes 2 movies to deal with. We end this movie without spoiling anything in a place that makes sense for that story. I think it's very complete. I don't think Spider-Verse wasn't that, but I do think Spider-Verse just didn't call itself part 1. I think it should have. I think this movie, yeah, it's thrilling. I think all of the things that worked about these continue to work. It is so loud. It is one of the loudest movies I've ever seen. And not just in like people are shouting all the time. Tom Cruise does a lot of shouting, but also just you're on a train and the train flies by the camera and it just whoo, and then your seat rattles. And I know that sounds like, yeah, movies do that, but this movie does that a lot. And I was not watching in one of the, theaters where your seat is actually shaking. Like, this was just a regular Dolby theater and it was pretty intense. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think this movie's good. I think it's pretty fun. I think all the new guys are fun. I have no connection to Mission Impossible 1. I don't care about Kittredge. It's fun that he's here, but like, I don't know. Seeing that character didn't really move me. I think Haley Atwell's a good addition to this. They've had a pretty good like run with Ferguson last movie, or Ferguson 2 movies ago, as the new like recruit, and then Henry Cavill, the movie before this, and he was good, he was fun, and that movie also had Vanessa Kirby, who I quite liked, who shows up here, and now Haley Atwell is the new kind of person they have to work with, who they don't quite know what her deal is. I think that character is cool. I think the villain stuff might lose some people, only because it is so, I'm not gonna spoil it, but it is somewhat, you have to kind of let him go with it, just go, it kind of tells you what is going on and you go, okay. Like, it's clear when all this starts what we're getting, right? We're getting an enemy they've never faced before that is able to beat them at every turn, right? The problem with these, I guess, maybe is every enemy has kind of been that, and that's always been, like, it's never like they've actually gone into a scenario and gone, oh, this is an easy one. We're gonna have an easy one, guys. Let's go do it. And they go do it and it's fine. Like, it's always the craziest thing that's ever happened with the highest stakes, whatever. This one is a level beyond that in terms of like its capabilities. I will say that like it almost mirrors kind of Ethan Hunt being the most capable man that ever existed. This is the most capable enemy that ever existed. I think it sets up some interesting scenes and some interesting like situations. It gets a little bit kind of existential, and that was the one bit of it that I'm like, I know this might not work for some people. I also think this is a concept. It's very of the moment, and I don't think that's on purpose, but it's not quite like Glass Onion, where you're like, did they make this about Elon Musk yesterday? But there's elements of this where I'm like, nah, way to go. Good timing, you guys. This is a good movie, and it has a whole thing going on that I would not have bought 2 years ago. And now I do. So that's cool. I mean, it's still kind of silly. Mission Impossible movies have always been kind of silly, right? Like the face reveals, like that's kind of magic. It's fun. They're all filmed really well. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. Like, he's fun and he's intense and he's good at this. Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames are okay. Like, they're there, but they don't really leave a huge impression. I know, like, obviously right now why getting Jeremy Renner back into these would be tricky. It's funny how he was set up in 4 to be the new guy, and then he's just not. And also, I feel like Paula Patton was also set up in 4 to be the new guy, and she's just not. I think that's fine. I don't think they need to bring, them back in place of Tom Cruise, and I think there's plenty of room in the next movie to call them back out of retirement or something, but it's just interesting that this franchise has tried once or twice to reset the scales, and everybody always goes, nah, let's just do him again. Let's get Tom Cruise back in here. If it works, it works. I think Rebecca Ferguson is cool. I think I don't want to say the villain, the guy that's the guy. I don't even know this actor's name. Let's look him up. This guy, Issa Morales, who plays Gabriel, was not in a previous one. That's good, because I was confused. Oh, he was Deathstroke. Sure, that's right. He was that. I think he's cool. I think he's like Ethan Hunt, just super intense. There's parts of these stunts that are really, really practical and tangible, and I like that. However, it kind of highlights the parts of these stunts that are not really practical and tangible. I do still think there's enough creativity and enough like flair that the parts that you're like, well, this is CGI, it's still pretty tense. A lot of the stuff near the end, you can kind of tell like, oh, they really did that. Yep, the camera is lingering on him for much too long. This is definitely a real thing that happened. And then there's other stuff where you're like, well, they didn't do that. And it's like, well, yeah. But, you know, I think it all mostly still works. 2023 continues to be the year of the train between Spider-Verse and Indiana Jones. And now the trains are happening, baby, big time. I'm assuming Aquaman will have some sort of sea train or something. I don't know how he will get into a train, but he'll figure it out. Palm Clementif is weird. I do think there's one action scene that's a little bizarre. The Mission Impossible movies are obviously very, you know, unbelievable. Magical technology they have that always breaks, right? And the things Ethan Hunt is doing, he's always doing in secret, but also public, right? Like these are things he's running through the streets and whatever. But at the same time, he is not a government agent. And if they call him and he gets caught, they have to disavow him and all that stuff. There's a scene in this movie that has an extended chase sequence that kind of reminds me of an extended chase sequence from another movie from this year. It really focuses on Tom Cruise and what he's trying to do. And there are obviously people that are trying to catch him. And then there's also bad guys, and the bad guys are just like, it really is like cartoon character level stuff that they're pulling off. And I'm like, listen, I get that the police really don't like him right now because he's the guy they started chasing. I think they're gonna really start getting interested in that character over there. Something they're doing just does seem a little bit worse, but whatever. It's a fun movie. I think it's fun, and I think there's a lot of good stuff that's set up for the next one. You know, I think that this is so far this summer, I don't know, this has been a good summer between Guardians 3, Spider-Verse, and this. 3 really good, competent, crowd-pleasing blockbusters that I would be like, you go to a theater, you watch that, you're gonna have a great time. There's some others like Indiana Jones that I'm like, it was okay, you know, it was good enough. But like, this is another really like strong summer movie. I think this is not my favorite one of these. I think 4 is still my favorite. I'd have to go back and watch 5 again, but 4 really worked for me. Ghost Protocol. Although I really liked 6 as well. I'm gonna say this is like a tie. I'm gonna say my favorite is Ghost Protocol, number 4, and then right below that, this and 6 are tied. It's very good. It's very good. It's exciting. It's fun. My audience had a really good time with it. And especially when it's an all press screening, when you can like hear the reactions, it's like, that's something. So yeah, I think this is a solid 8 out of 10. Like really, really good, entertaining action movie. I do kind of think if Top Gun made a lot of money last year, this will make a lot of money this year. My only thing is, at least with Top Gun, could have maybe benefited from the, it's been so long since we had a Top Gun movie. I remember Top Gun from my childhood. Amazing. But I think what this year has proved is that doesn't definitely work. Indiana Jones, you know, Flash with Michael Keaton. Nostalgia will only get you so far. It seems like this year, the really good movies are the ones that make the money. Also Super Mario, but like Guardians, Spider-Verse, and for that reason, I think this movie is going to make a pretty solid amount of money and could be one of the higher grossing movies of this year. You know, we'll have to see. It's got a tough competition with Oppenheimer and Barbie coming out so soon. But yeah, I mean, I had a really good time with this. I think most people will like it, and I think it is definitely worth seeing in a big, loud theater.